So this afternoon, we are going to be looking at apostrophes, and they are often a type of punctuation that is misused within students' writing. So I just wanted to explain what they are and also how they are used. So when we talk about apostrophes, we are talking about a type of punctuation that looks a little bit like a comma. And when we talk about a comma, we are speaking about punctuation that goes on the line. An apostrophe, it looks like a comma, but it floats in the air. So it would go up in the air like that rather than on the line like a comma. Okay, so that's what the apostrophe looks like. Now we need to know, why do we use it? And there are two different uses of apostrophes. You've got apostrophes that are used to show contractions, and you have apostrophes that are used to show possession. Now, that all sounds really complicated. It's not actually that complicated, because we are going to look at both uses, okay, and we will explain both uses as we work through the afternoon. So the first use is we use an apostrophe when we join two words together. And this is what we refer to as a contraction. So the contraction is when two words are joined together. You might also hear this referred to as an apostrophe for omission. And what that means is, omission means that words have been, or letters have been missed out of the words. So it is either the apostrophe for contraction or the apostrophe for omission. Okay. And the way that we use this type of apostrophe is when we join two words together. We squish them together and they become one word. And we use the apostrophe for the contractions to show where the letters are missing, not where the words are joined. So here we have we are, okay? And when I squash we are together, I miss out the A and I say we're, and I put the apostrophe where the letter A should go. Okay. The same as, it's not always one letter that is missing. Sometimes it's more than one letter. So if I've got I have joined together I have. But I've not just missed one letter, I have missed the H and the A from it. So there's two letters that are missing. Now, with this type of apostrophe, you need to be really careful, because when you come across the word do not, what I often see is the apostrophe in the wrong place, because when you squish do not together, you end up with the word don't. Okay. And what you are actually taking out of that word when we join it together is the O. Okay. So the apostrophe goes where the O is taken from, not where you are joining the words together, which is what I often see. So when we have do not, what we should end up with is don't. Okay, and your apostrophe goes where the O should be, not where the words are linked together. Now, you need to be careful with this type of apostrophe, because sometimes the actual letters of the words are slightly different. You change the way that you spell things. So what we're going to look at next is the first part of your sheet, where you've got some words that we are going to squish together to make our contractions, or we're going to lengthen them out so we end up with the complete word. So with our first one, cannot, if I squeeze it together, I am missing out the N and the O. So I end up with can't. So what I need to do is I have my CAN and then the apostrophe and then the T. So I can't. Okay. If we say will have, we end up with weave. And what we have to do, we are missing the H and the A. So what we end up with, put your apostrophe in there, you end up with the WE and then the apostrophe and then the VE. So weave. Now, the next one, she will. What do we need to do with that? We need to miss out. We'll end up with, it sounds a bit like shell. Okay, so she'll. And what we have to do is we miss the W and the I. So as we form our contraction, think about where your apostrophe is going to go. So you're still going to have the she, and then you're going to have your apostrophe, and then you're going to have the two L's. So it looks like you're spelling shell, but you have the apostrophe in there. Now, the next one, when we've got he is, you need to be really careful because this contraction also means he has, because what we are doing, we are taking away the I. So think about where your apostrophe is going to go, and you are going to end up with he apostrophe S. So he's, and that means he is or he has. So you will need to read the sentence that it is in and work out if it is meaning he is or he has. Now, that is the same as the next one. I've just changed the pronoun for you. So she has, and like I was saying, this is also the same contraction for she is. So I am missing out the H and the A. And think about where your apostrophe is going to go. What's it going to be when you squeeze them together? You're going to end up with the she and then an apostrophe and then an S. Okay, so that's how we are shortening the words, how we are contracting them to make the one word. Now, on the next set of words, I have given you the contraction, and we need to work out what is the words that have been squashed together. What are those words? So doesn't, I can see at the beginning here that we have the does. Okay, so I can see that we've got does and the NT, I think the O's missing, so I've got does not. Now I can see the pronoun I in the next one, and the apostrophe is showing that the A is missing, so the full version is I am. The next one, I can see the pronoun you at the beginning, and the RE, I'm missing the A, so you are. Now, the won't is one of those tricky ones where the letters have changed, and it isn't wo not, because that doesn't make any sense. It's not a real word. So what we are contracting to make won't is will not. Okay, because if you say wilt, it sounds a bit weird. So won't is will not. And the final one here, where you've got she'd, you need to be careful because this has two different full versions. It might be she, and one of the versions is she would. Okay. The other version is she had. So just be careful with this one. If you're saying she would go to the park, you wouldn't say she had to go to the park. You would say she would go to the park. If you say she had brown hair, you're talking about she had brown hair rather than she would brown hair. Doesn't make sense. Okay. So those are the apostrophes for the contractions. The next bit that we are going to look at is the other type of apostrophe that we mentioned, the apostrophe for possession. And this is the one that is slightly more confusing. So, apostrophes for possession, it is showing that an object belongs to someone. Okay, because possession, it means that it belongs to you. And when we use this apostrophe for possessions, there are several different rules that we need to know. Now, let's have a look at those rules because the first rule is quite straightforward. If you've got a singular noun, so one object, and the noun is belonging to that one object, you would have an apostrophe and then an S. Okay, so that is for singular. If you have things that are plural, so you might have a football that belongs to three different boys and they all have the one football, you would put the apostrophe after the S. So when you are turning the word boy into boys to make it plural, if the object belongs to all of the boys, you would put the apostrophe after the S. Now, if you have some of these plural nouns that don't end in an S, you follow the first rule. You follow the rule, you put an apostrophe and then an S. Okay. Now, the one thing that I often see in writing is using apostrophes for plural, and you don't need to do that. Okay, so if you are talking about trees, you would just put trees like that. You don't need to put an apostrophe unless you are talking about, I don't know, the tree's leaves, because the leaves then belong to the tree. But generally, with making things plural, you don't need the apostrophe. Okay, so make sure that you're not adding extra apostrophes where you don't need them. So what we're going to do now, we are going to look at some sentences and we are going to change them so that they are showing belonging. So if I have the ball that belongs to Tom, it is Tom's ball. So think about the rule that we need. Tom is a singular noun, it's someone's name. So the rule that I need to follow is I write Tom, then I put an apostrophe S, and then I just put the word ball. I don't need to add any extra S's in there. Okay. Now, the next one, I've got the cat. So I've got one cat belongs to the children. Now, children, it means that there is more than one of them. Okay, so it is plural, but it is what we call an irregular plural. I don't put an S on the end of it to make it plural. So I need to follow that first rule. It is the children's cat. So I'm following the rule. I've got the word children, and then I put an apostrophe S, and then I just write the word cat, okay? And then I've got the book that belongs to Ali. Again, it is someone's name, so I would just put Ali, then an apostrophe, then an S, and then the word book. Now the next one, I've got a pen, and it belongs to the girl. So it's only belonging to one girl. So I need to follow the rule, the girl's pen. And because it only belongs to one girl, I would put the girl's pen. Okay. If there were lots of pens and they belonged to several girls, what I would need to do is have the plural, the word girls, like that, and then I would put an apostrophe, so it belongs to lots of girls, and then the word pens after it. So the one underneath it, this one here, the girls' pens, that means that the pens belong to lots of girls. The one at the top here means that the pen belongs to one girl, okay? Now, next one, we've got the bike, and it belongs to mum. So it is mum's bike. So what we need to do, we need to put mum, and then an apostrophe, and then an S, and then the bike, okay? And we've got the jumper belonging to Bobby. So it's someone's name again. And with names, you tend to just follow the rule apostrophe S, okay? So we've got Bobby, and then an apostrophe, then an S, and then the word jumper, because the jumper belongs to Bobby. Now, the next one we need to look really carefully at, because I've got toys. There are lots of toys, okay? And they belong to the boys. So all of these toys, it's not just one boy that it belongs to, it's lots of different boys. So what I need to think about, where does my apostrophe go? Because it belongs to lots of boys, I need to put boys, then the apostrophe, and then the word toys, okay? And then the last one here, the dog belonging to Molly. So Molly is the name, it is her dog, so it's Molly's, so I put her name, and then an apostrophe, and then an S, and then the word dog, okay? So that is how we are using the apostrophe to show possession, okay? Now, the last bit that I want to look at today isn't actually on your sheet, but I am going to put it on the screen to see if we can spot mistakes. And remember, I said earlier, sometimes I see children using apostrophes for plurals. Some of those are the mistakes that we are spotting. So let me have a look here. My first sentence, the tree's leaves were green. Now, in this sentence here, there are a lot of apostrophes because I have an apostrophe for the trees and an apostrophe for the leaves. Now, I don't need to use the apostrophe for the plural, but what I need to use the apostrophe for is to show that the leaves belong to the tree. So what we should have here is the trees needs the apostrophe, the leaves, it doesn't need the apostrophe because it is plural, okay? So it is the second apostrophe that is in the wrong place. Oh, the second sentence looks really strange. So, I haven't been to the shops. Now, there is something really wrong with this apostrophe here. And the really wrong part is I have squished have and not together to make haven't. Okay. But when I spell haven't, I haven't missed a letter out after the V. I have missed the letter out in the word not. So what I need to do is put HAVE and then the N apostrophe T. Okay. And then I have another apostrophe here. I haven't been to the shops. Well, shops, it is just plural. It doesn't need the apostrophe. So this one here, it should just say shops. Okay. Then the boys' hats were green and fluffy. Now, I've got two apostrophes. I've got an apostrophe here in the word boys, an apostrophe after the S in the words hats. Now, what this sentence is trying to say is that the hats belong to the boy, okay? And it belongs to one boy, okay? So we'll make a note of that there. Because of where the apostrophe is, it belongs to one boy. But I don't need the apostrophe with the word hats. Okay, so that should just say HATS. It is a plural and it doesn't need the apostrophe with it. Now, the next one, I'm looking at ladies and I'm looking and thinking, if I am making the word lady plural, I don't follow that spelling rule because the plural of lady is ladies, and because it ends in a Y, you're following a different spelling rule. You would put IES. So that one, I don't need an apostrophe. I need to spell the plural correctly. So the ladies went to the shop, but they didn't buy anything. So looking at this didn't, again, when I'm making my contraction, I have put my apostrophe in the incorrect place because if I am spelling didn't, I have joined did not together. So what I should end up with is the did, the N, and then the apostrophe because I am missing out the O. Okay. And we're going to the beach. So we are going to the beach. I haven't missed a letter out between the R and the E. I have actually missed out a letter A. So this one here, it should say we apostrophe R-E rather than the apostrophe between the R and the E. And the last one, and we'll find shells. I don't need an apostrophe because I am just writing the plural. So if I'm writing the plural for shells, it will just be shells without any apostrophe. Okay. And let's have a look here. The boys wore fluffy hats. Now, boys, they're not owning anything in this particular sentence. They are wearing something. So I would just need the word boys without any apostrophes in it. Okay. And they wore fluffy hats. The hat is the object that they are wearing, but it is a plural object. So again, to make it plural, I don't need the apostrophe. I just need the S on the end of it because in that sentence, we're not showing the belonging at all. Okay. And the final one, the girl's pens were broken. Now, it is one girl. So again, the pens belong to the one girl. And what I then need to think about, this bit here, it's one girl. So the girl needs the apostrophe where it is. The pens, the girl has lots of pens, and I don't need the apostrophe because it is plural. So all I need to do for that is just put pens without the apostrophe. Okay, so I hope that you have managed to spot those errors as we are working through, and make sure when you are doing your writing that you're not using the apostrophes to show that something is plural, because that's one of the very common mistakes that I see within the writing. Okay, now I'm just going to